Take a listen. So Jay Gruden is on 106.7 The Fan in D.C. We all know the history of Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins. They were together in Washington. Kyle wanted him here in San Francisco. He has made no bones about that. How close did they come? Go back to 2017. Niners have the second pick in the draft. They'd eventually trade it to the Bears so they could take Mitch Trubisky, and the Niners would go with Solomon Thomas with the third overall pick. But before that pick was made, they tried to send it to Washington for Kirk Cousins.
I know that they wanted him. Let's just say that.
The 49ers did.
The Shanahans loved Kirk. Kirk loved the Shanahans. That's just, there's no.
Oh, yeah. He's still, to my knowledge, meets with Mike every offseason.
They brought him in here and taught him some good ball, and we were fortunate enough to keep Kirk and work with him, and now Kirk's doing his thing. But
do you think they would have given up the number 2 overall
They would have
pick?
given up more than that. They would have given up way more than that. You're talking about a quarterback who's a $150 million guy. You're going to get more than a first-round pick. You get 2 ones. And you're going to get a player. I wanted Jimmy Ward. I wanted 2 ones and a player, or maybe 2 ones and a 2. I mean, these quarterbacks. You look at all the teams that are struggling. What don't they have?
Quarterback, yeah. I mean,
that's the number one position. And Kirk had opportunities to go to San Fran, the Jets, Minnesota. It wasn't like he wasn't sought after.
Right.
So we could have traded him. It would have made our team better. Instead, we got a third-round conditional pick. It makes no sense.
Was it as simple as, on the outside looking in, I've always thought...
It was as simple as they didn't like the Shanahans, and they don't want to give Kirk to them.
I always thought, exactly, optics-wise, Bruce and Dan hated the idea of Kyle and Kirk having success.
Exactly, which is...
the right way to run an organization.
Yeah,
right?
It makes no sense.
I mean, that's the
It is what it is now, but I mean, it's just a shame because we have such a hot commodity. I mean, he's a young, talented player, threw for a ton of yards. His future's in front of him, and we got nothing for him. That's the worst thing, in my opinion, that happened. Aside from all the injuries and all the other stuff, that's the worst decision we made as a franchise.
Comp third, eventually.
Yeah.
There it is. And that's Kirk Cousins, who, again, as we were talking about earlier, it's easy to poke holes in the career of Kirk Cousins, but you have to stop short of calling him anything other than a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
He's a good player.
I think Jay Gruden is suffering from revisionist history.
How so?
I don't think that they were offered 2 firsts and Jimmy Ward. And
no, he's saying that's what he would have gone after. It sounds to me like he's saying the conversation was a non-starter because Dan Snyder was not going to let Kirk go to the Niners.
But the Niners weren't. No team was going to offer 2 firsts and a player for a guy who was looking at a second year of a franchise tag. Washington, with Dan Snyder as the owner, there was no threat of, we're going to give this guy a long-term deal. Kirk Cousins was there to be had. And the Niners would have had him if it wasn't for the fact that Kyle Shanahan had been there and Dan Snyder had a grudge against him. Now, did Shanahan want him? I believe that he did. Would Shanahan have offered a first? Probably. I don't think that he would have offered 2 firsts and Jimmy Ward.
Listen to what Kirk was coming off at that time. Just for bleeps and giggles.
I know what he was coming off, but I also want you to remember where he was contractually.
I get it.
That was his franchise year. He was tagged, and he did what you're going to describe.
Well, but remember, if they get him, you're just going to give him the contract that you gave Jimmy.
Correct.
That's all.
Yeah, you might end up giving him more, but
I doubt it.
I mean, Jimmy got top
the
dollar.
highest paid player in the game.
I'm not going to quibble over the dollars.
So Kirk was 28, about to turn 29.
And this is 2017, right?
His previous year, 2017 draft, so coming off the 2016 season, to Pro Bowler, 25 TDs, 12 picks, 67% completion, 4,900 yards.
Man.
It's a lot of yards.
Would they go 8-7?
8-7-1.
Okay.
8-7-1.
Okay.
With a middling roster.
Sure.
And then, he follows it up that year that where the Niners did not get him.
And he got franchise tagged a second time with Washington.
4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 picks. Look, Kirk Cousins is he's not an elite quarterback. He is right there in the next group.
For sure.
He's right there in the next group.
For sure. He is a career aggregator on the level of Phillip Rivers. And when it's all said and done, he might be a Hall of Famer, just like Phillip Rivers might be.
I wonder.
Based on career aggregation. You know what it is, Mark? You You know what it is.
I do.
It's an aggregation sensation.
Do you know that? Okay, what's the stat about Niner QBs and 4,000 yards? This never happened under Kyle. Am I correct?
Yeah, Jimmy got like 39.92 or something.
Exactly. But
it's so stupid.
But am I right? Like, when's the last time a Niner QB threw for over 4K? I do wonder that. So, Grandy, chase that down.
I got it for you here.
Okay,
shortly.
what is it?
It is, well, it's career numbers. Yeah, Joe Montana, 35,000. I don't think that was in 1 year.
The last Niner quarterback to throw for more than 4,000 passing yards, 4,000 or more. Jeff Garcia in 2000.
Jeez.
Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 3,978 in 2019.
That's what it was. Yep.
Brother, did you just say it's been 23 years?
I did say that.
Whoa.
Okay.
Only 3 have ever done it.
Okay.
Only 3 have ever done it. So to me, it's a bit arbitrary, but go ahead.
Kirk Cousins has done it 7 times
Sure.
out of the last 8 years.
You know why? It's because he's on teams that are behind. And he's on teams where you have to throw it because you don't have a running back.
Well, wait a minute now. He's won more games than he's lost in his career. He's got a winning record.
Okay, what's his record?
72-65.
Yeah, attaboy.
Well, but wait a minute.
That breaks down to being 8.4 and 7.6.
But no, now
mediocre.
you're kind of putting thoughts in my head.
No.
That's a response to your contention that he's always behind. No, he's not. He's not on terrible teams.
No, he's on mediocre teams.
They've been kind of
without
mediocre.
running attacks.
Yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook,
couple of good years.
couple of good years.
Do you know how many times they rushed it last night?
Well, Dalvin Cook's not on the team, and they fell behind. And Alexander Madison.
Do you know how many times they rushed it last night?
I would guess they rushed the ball last night less than 15 times.
Keep going down.
Less than 10?
Yes.
Really?
9 times, Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
9. Thank you. Madison had 8 totes, and Kirky himself got 1.
But could I argue that A, you're down, and B, dude, it was working. He threw for 360 and 4 tugs.
Yeah.
So why stop? And Madison fumbled.
Yeah.
Madison's not very good. They're going to regret the Dalvin Cook thing.
Agreed.
And they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm telling you.
My point in all of this is that numbers lie. And apologies to the ESPN show, numbers don't lie. Numbers lie because the Niners have only ever had 3 seasons in which a quarterback has thrown for more than 4,000 yards. Garcia, Young, and Young. And despite that inability to throw the ball for all those yards, they've been a pretty good little organization over time. It's because balance matters, and the Vikings don't have it. And yes, Kirk, you're wonderful, and you are everybody's fantasy. Shout out Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Mariah Carey, and all the other artists who've sang about fantasy. Aldo Nova, life is just a fantasy, but you don't win. You don't play winning football.
Well, or has he not had the right coaches, the right teammates, the right things around him? Interesting, outside of last year's Paper Tiger 13-4 season for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins' best record as a pro came the only year that he didn't throw for 4,000 yards.
Interesting.
Threw for 3,600 in 2019, and in 15 games went 10-5. So add him into a Kyle Shanahan offense, are you getting the best version of Kirk Cousins?
Well, depends on how you feel about fumbles. I wonder what his fumble numbers are. It feels like he fumbles it a lot.
I got it.
And what are his pick numbers? You got his pick numbers there.
I got all the pick numbers. What do you want?
How many picks for his career?
106.
In how many starts?
139.
Okay, so not quite a pick a start.
Not bad, and a TD to interception ratio that is better than 2-1.
Which is really good.
Yeah. 258 touchdowns, 106 interceptions.
Yeah.
I guess there's 2 things we're trying to say here. Or I don't want to speak for you. There's 2 things I'm trying to say.
Do it.
Kirk Cousins is really good.
Really good. ...
Brock Purdy has done more than enough to make me never think about him again.
Agreed. And I think you can look at an NBA player who's really good. Kirk Cousins might be James Harden. James Harden is really good. James Harden doesn't play winning basketball. And it's not Kirk Cousins' fault exclusively that they don't win. Maybe it's roster construction. Maybe it's bad defense. Maybe it's bad luck. but Kirk Cousins has not been able to transmit his style of play into meaningful wins.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's hear from you. Hey, Boo Boo the Fool in Redwood City. Hey, Boo Boo, what are you doing?
Hey, looking for a pick in his basket? No, I'm joking. Hey, I honestly believe what you believe, man. I think that if we got Purdy, we don't need. I'm sorry, what's your name from the Vikings, man? He's like another Garoppolo. You know what I'm saying? It's like you love him when he plays, okay, and when he's on the field. But if you put him in a situation where everything's on the line and you need him to deliver, he can't. And so, in my opinion, no, you don't switch out Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy is on, okay? When the quarterback's on, you keep, okay? But as far as Kirk Cousins go, no, I don't switch up. And it's kind of sad because you look at Kirk, and it's not really his fault. I mean, he's had some pretty, messed up situations to be in that regime where the coaching staff and the guys who go out and draft don't do him justice. He needs to have all the right pieces. It ain't just Kirk by himself out there. It's the rest of the team, too. And so it's sad, but I'm sorry. I got to stay with Purdy. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Boo Boo, I agree completely. Thank you for the call. But I will say this about Kirk, because it transfers to a point that I've been trying to make about Brock Purdy. When we look at, again, bottom line thinking, black and white thinking, results only, that's really the only hole you can poke in the career of Kirk Cousins. But results. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. Has he lost some big games? Sure. Let me ask you this, though. How many times has Kirk Cousins gone into a big game, a playoff game, and you're like, dude, you are clearly quarterbacking the better team here, and then he's blown it? I'd argue it's actually kind of more often been the other way around.
Didn't they lose to the Giants last year?
They did.
Yeah.
I don't think that they were the better team.
Oh, boy.
I think that they were a complete fake 13-4 the whole time.
Okay.
Their point differential was negative.
At home, I'm sure they were favored in that game. I'd have to Google it.
Most definitely they were.
Yeah, so,
most definitely they
Vegas would tell you they were the better team.
And even if I grant you that, that's that one.
Sure.
Like,
I'd have to go through his entire game log, but you mentioned it yesterday as you were fading Kirk in your survivor pool.
It worked.
Kirk doesn't win games that are at night, and that is a thing, and it's slander, but it's actually fact, because if you look at his primetime record, he doesn't win these games.
Right, but as Boo Boo said, like, you look at his career and you're like, dude, it's not your fault. It's not usually his fault. So I don't think you trip and fall into good quarterback stats in the NFL. I don't think it's an accident.
Sure.
It's one of the huge reasons I am such a supporter of Brock Purdy. I flatly reject, he's got good teammates and a good coach. Any idiot could walk in there and not mess this up. I completely disagree. And so if I look at Kirk Cousins and you're looking at an average, I mean, his TD totals now as a full-year starter.
Gorgeous.
29, 25, 27, 30, 26, 35, 33, 29. It's the same damn thing every year. It's somewhere between 26 and 33.
Right.
Then you go to his picks. 9, 11, 12, 13, 10, 6, 13, 7, 14. Same damn thing. You're going to have somewhere between a 2.5 to 1 TD to interception ratio. You're going to get a little bit over 4,000 yards. That's really good quarterbacking. However, Brock Purdy is also doing really good quarterbacking. He is 12 years younger. He is more mobile. He is the guy. He is making $800,000 as opposed to $40 million.
Sure.
To me, this isn't even a comparison. However, we continue to hear the name Kirk Cousins as the 49ers fallback option for next year.
How many yards a game for Kirk in his career?
Yards per game.
Yeah. If you have that.
Career,
Yeah.
262.8.
Okay. And you mentioned his record was slightly above 500.
QB starter record, 72, 65, and 2.
Okay. And what percentage in terms of completions?
Career 66.9.
Okay, because I mentioned Phillip Rivers before, and I just punched up his numbers. 260 yards per game.
Same.
It's Cousins-esque. A record of 134 and 106.
A little better.
Slightly better.
Better win percentage, for sure.
Barely better. And a completion percentage of 64.9.
2 percentage points lower than Kirk.
In an era where completions were a little bit harder to come by, so I would argue that they are fairly comparable. And Phillip played in 05, 06, where you still were allowed to cuff around receivers a little bit more.
You were, and LaDainian Tomlinson was running the show for a little while, but he also then bled into the area of defenses can't touch anyone, and we can't touch the QB. And
421 touchdowns to 209 picks, so just slightly above 2-1, much like Kirk Cousins. So I was thinking about this as you were laying out your Kirk Cousins case, and I'm not saying that you're a huge fan. This is a great conversation, and I like this.
I'm just saying he's good, but I would reject him on the Niners.
I'm saying he's Phillip Rivers. And I'm also saying, and I've said this out loud from the highest mountaintop, Phillip Rivers is not a Hall of Famer. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is either. But if Kirk Cousins keeps doing what he's doing and he has a Phillip Rivers-like career, they're probably both getting in, and I hate that.
How many years did Phillip play?
17.
Okay.
The first 2 years, he basically sat and watched.
So did Kirk. He got a few games here and there. He's really only been a full-time starter since 2015, which, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is his 9th year as a full starter.
Phillip had 15 years as a full starter.
Okay, how many total yards for Phillip?
63,440.
Okay.
And Kirk's probably got about 40.
Kirk's coming up on 38.
Yeah.
He'll get to 38 next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he will be a career aggregator. And much like Phillip, what's Kirk's playoff record?
Oh, gosh. Now you're going to make me scroll down.
Well, Phillip is 5-7 in the playoffs.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, 5-7, including
I gotta find that.
Including no appearances in the Super Bowl. So
here we go. Okay. Career, postseason.
Kirk is probably like 2-5.
Kirk has played in 5 playoff games, and he has won one of them.
So 1-4. Yeah, there you go.
1-4.
He's Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
He's Phillip Rivers.
Which is really good. That's who the Niners were going to call if they got to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Sure.
I don't want him over Brock Purdy.
I don't either.
Well, that should say something about where we're at Brock Purdy, because if you're telling me, if I swapped that name out, and if I told everybody, okay, Phillip Rivers at age 35 or Brock Purdy, I think you'd get different answers.
Phillip Rivers at age 35?
Right, because that's where Kirk is. He's 35.
Oh, he is. Wow.
He's 35 years old.
Yeah, I thought you meant Phillip now because he's 42.
Right. No, but if I
And that's also how many kids he has. Coincidentally enough. There's a cheap shot. He's only got 9.
He's got another one on the way.
Does he?
He does.
Shut your mouth.
No joke.
Dude, I'm so envious.
No, you're not. You're doing the exact same thing.
Teach me how to do it, Phil. I only got 3.
Leonard.
I'm lagging.
Leonard in Santa Clara. Hey, Leonard, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What's up?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good, man.
Pretty good. So I just wanted to say that since we do have a quarterback on our team and it's not the situation during the NFC Championship, I don't think we should have any other discussions about who is actually on the team.
Okay.
I'm not sure I follow, Leonard. What are you saying?
He hung up. He's saying stop talking about Kirk Cousins.
I think that's actually the point of our conversation, at least from my standpoint.
No, I agree.
I mean,
and the Jay Gruden sound, I think, just crystallized even more how the Niners are in a great spot.
Understand where this comes from, okay? It's not just because Kirk played last night. I love how we do this. And I have been, outside of maybe Kruger, I've been one of Brock's biggest supporters. He wins one game this year. And now a lot of you are like, what the hell are we even talking about the quarterback for? You guys all spent all offseason screaming about this.
Oh, you guys.
No, like, did a lot of the fan base, yes or no,
we
scream all year
about
this one's hurt and that one's a first-round draft pick And then over here is door number 3.
And he sees ghosts.
Steiny, as recently as 2 weeks ago, predicted that Kirk Cousins is going to be the Niner quarterback next year.
Wow.
True or false?
I hate to cast aspersions on my dear friend, but I believe that's true, Mark.
So now Brock wins one game, and you all want to recoil and go, we've all been here the whole time, like the Niners have their quarterback. Well, 6 days ago, you guys didn't feel that way.
I've been on his Brock since day one, okay? And you know that, Mark.
But what does Kyle Shanahan think? Because
Well,
this has been something that Kyle Shanahan
there you
has
go.
openly talked about for years now. Is it
and-
enough for Kyle Shanahan to forget about Kirk Cousins?
Very good question. And beyond that, without knowing how this year finishes, I don't think we're allowed to dismiss it yet. In the moment, maybe none of you would take Kirk Cousins over Brock Purdy. But what if the season doesn't go well? What if it doesn't finish where we've all decided it's supposed to finish? What if it does end in the NFC divisional round? What if there is an injury? Because, again, not an excuse. You don't get an excuse, and we're not giving you a pass, all of that stuff. So have you already decided that Brock Purdy has done enough to eliminate Kirk Cousins from this conversation?